My name is Toushong.
And I'm Martha, and this is our testimony.
When I first met my wife, I was a non-Christian. I didn't know anything about church. I didn't know anything about believing in God and following Jesus Christ. When she brought me for the first time to church, uh, I was neglected to come because I didn't know anything. I was afraid that, my family were going to put me down, or people at the church are going to look down on me. And I was scared. I was a little nervous, but I came anyway. And, sure enough, when I showed up, people were friendly, very friendly, not what I expected, very welcoming. So I came and sat down, and praise and worship team came on the stage and started singing, and it was very weird because I wasn't used to singing in public, let alone a lot of people singing together. So everybody stood up, and I looked around, and everybody kind of looked, like they were paying attention to the stage, and I just felt like I had to join in. So I stood up, and they started singing, and then that was weird for me, so I started singing as well. I couldn't read Hmong, but something about that moment, I felt like I was able to read Hmong on the stage, and something about the music just made it so much easier for me to read music up there. And then soon after that, I, church was over, and I couldn't wait till next Sunday because I enjoyed the singing so much. So I kept coming back, and I kept coming back, and I enjoy singing. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy the welcoming of this church, and all of that experience just made me feel welcome each time I came. And I truly believe that it's because of that reason. That's what drawn me to come to church, and that's what drawn me to realize that, at the time, I called them church people because I didn't know, what to call them. And church people were good; they were nice people, and I enjoyed that feeling of feeling welcome. And then later on, as I became a member of the church, I later learned that, uh, if this if the people here at church is supposed to be a living example of God and Jesus Christ, I want to be like this Jesus Christ, because it's through him that he was an example for the world to see, and everybody in the world is doing that. Where they're just more respectful, they are just more nicer to people, and they are just a living example of what people need in life. For the first time, I saw humility in men. I grew up in a household, or at least in a family generation of men, not, you know, the humility. They never, took away that. They always felt like they were the more dominant men, and so they just anything they said just goes. But here at church, it was very different. I saw for the first time one of the church members, they actually listened to their wife. And at the time, I was very shocked because I wasn't used to that. I was used to more of the opposite. The wife needs to listen to the husband instead. But here I saw that it was it was equal. The wife listens to the husband listens to the wife. And that changed my mind. And again, I thought back to, if this is how Jesus Christ wants us to live, and this is how he likes us to live, I want to be like that. I want to be a living example of that. There's only nothing but good that comes out of that.
So I was born into a Christian home, and so I was exposed to Christ, or I've known Jesus for a long time. But I think it wasn't until we also dated for a long time. So we dated for about 8 years, and then we started talking about marriage. And my dad was like, "Well, he's a non-Christian, and is that what you really want? Because you don't know the non-Christian life, or like the things they do." And so I thought about it, and I knew that I wanted to pursue the Lord, and I wanted that for him too. And so So we sat down. I remember we sat down and I told him that, my dad's like, you either gonna become a Christian so we can get married or just call off the relationship. So, but anyways, so we talked, and he has been coming to church with me for, I think, like ever since we dated.
Ever since,
and so he's been coming to church. He's been exposed to like all the things that we do here, and so he was kind of like, yeah, maybe it's time. And so I think you got baptized in 2013.
I think so.
I think when we truly experience much together is when we got married. We're going through the first year that we got married, and I remember we were so broke, and we got our own place. We were so broke, and I was like, oh, like, this is hard, like, what is, like, this is marriage, like, this is hard and difficult. And yeah, I don't know if you want to share that story.
Yeah, I can share. So I got a new job, and with this new job I anticipated a certain salary. And so we got the apartment as well. And so when I first got my first paycheck, it was a lot lower than I expected. And luckily we had some money saved, and that kind of helped carry us for the next few months. But it got really hard. We started getting worried. We started thinking, oh no, we got to move back. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to actually make it, on our own. But it got really rough. And, 6 months into our rental, HR came to us and told us that, hey, Toushong, looking back at your pay scale, and it looks like there's a mistake. It looks like we had to retro pay back your pay, because we were paying you at a wrong range from the day you started. So we're retro paying you all the way back from when you first started, and this has been about a year. And so I got a year worth of pay, and then on top of that, I was also bumped up into the range that I was supposed to get paid at, and I got a higher pay grade. And so that was truly an amazing feeling. When I told my wife about it, we were both excited. But it's God works in a mysterious way. You just never know. And in a time where we were the most worried, we just let it up to be God to take care of it. And it's scary to just rely on God to do it, but sometimes you just gotta go on faith and hope that it goes well. And
I remember that was like the only thing we had left is the Lord. We had nothing. We were so broke. And then I remember, like, it was different because we were dating, and he was a non-Christian, I was a Christian, so that was like a story in itself. And then when we became a married couple, how the Lord worked in our life, and going through that, it was just kind of like, yep, that was God's love and mercy for us. And so yeah, it was truly a great experience just to go through that. Yeah.
Another experience that I'm very thankful, or that I met my wife at the time, was at the time when we were dating, I was really into the hip hop, rap music. I was not in, I didn't know anything about religious music. And I remember we were in my, father-in-law's car and my mother-in-law's car. And I looked around for, rap music, hip hop music, CDs and stuff. And nothing in there was that stuff. It was mostly religious stuff. And so I just had to sit there and listen to religious stuff. And it was really tough, because it was, at one point it was very annoying because I wasn't used to it. So I really didn't like listening to it. I kept changing the station. She kept wanting to listen to it. I kept changing the station. Eventually she just gave in and just let me listen to hip hop. But slowly, over the time that I kept slowly hearing Christian music, I began to kind of open up and just kind of give it a shot. And I kind of listened to it. I began to like it. But it wasn't until I started praising and worshiping at church, and that's when some of the songs that were popular that we all sing at church, I started beginning singing that. And then I realized some of these CDs and cassettes that are in the car are some of the favorite songs, and I started listening to that, and slowly I just developed this listening ear for Christian music. And one of the biggest things that I saw that was very different from when you know somebody who's very popular and who's a celebrity, typically you don't ever meet them. And at the time, I didn't know who he was, but I liked his song. And this is Sifu Tzupe. I didn't know he was, I knew he was a singer. I knew he was a popular guy. But we had a church picnic, and he came out there. And my wife was like, hey, that's the guy that you like listening to a song? And I said, no, that's not him. He's such a popular guy. He would never come to these kinds of things. That's not him. My wife kept telling me that is him. And, I still didn't believe him. I still didn't believe my wife until he actually performed, for us to listen to, and he was singing the song that I like. And that's when it threw me back, because it made me look at the whole situation that, being a Christian isn't all about being popular. And Sifu Tzupe that day made it look like that, where he showed that even though you're popular, you are just still human. You can still hang out with regular people. Just because you're popular doesn't mean that you have to sit on the high chair and ignore everybody else. That really opened up my eyes to see humility, and that really somewhat changed my life at that time. Yeah.
I just want to add that I truly believe that I think the Lord did really call him to come to Christ, because if it was just me, I remember we were dating and it did not register to him why do I need to become a Christian? Why do I need to go to church? It didn't make sense. But I truly believe that. I think because we dated for so long, I think he truly called Toushong to become a Christian and to follow him. And so just want to praise God for that. So yeah.